everyone, welcome back to Planet Dirt. My name is Alicia and today we have a bunch of planting to do. Super excited, but first I'm going to take you back to a couple weeks ago when we cut some sweet potato slips and started to root them out. Alright, just a little update on the greenhouse project. This is where we're going to be mostly working today. I really need to get some onions into the ground. They're looking pretty sad. So we've done a couple of the raised beds, put them outside, and then started building up the brick. One of the beds is done. We still have two more to go, and hopefully one of those will get done today as we're in here working. But I'm gonna go behind my husband as he's doing that and get some onions in the ground. One other really cool thing about digging up all of these beds, it's been a lot of work, but it has also allowed us to put the hardware cloth down even deeper than it was going to be before. So underneath all of these bricks, there's hardware cloth, and we were able to attach it to all of the sides of the greenhouse. So we're also going to make sure we seal up the outside of the greenhouse, but from the inside, this is going to do a lot to keep out the pests that have been getting into the greenhouse and eating up all the crops. Alright, so first up I am planting all of my shallots. I have to tease them apart because I planted them pretty densely in this little container, but that's fine to do with onions. They tease apart really easily. I just made sure that the soil in there was damp so that they would come apart without breaking off too many of the roots. So that's what I'm doing here. And because these are shallots, they're not big bulbing onions, I am planting them pretty densely together. I think there's only maybe 3 or 4 inches in between each one, and I end up getting about 5 rows on this one side. I did, about halfway through this, have to go and recheck my garden plan to see how many peppers I need to put in this bed. I plant my onions and my peppers together in the same bed because it really helps with pest pressure on the peppers, especially when they're young. By the time the peppers get big enough to be overshadowing or bunching out all of the onions from the sun, the onions are ready to pull. So it's a really good, easy way for me to companion plant in the greenhouse, and it worked out really well last year, so I'm going to continue to do the same thing this year. I looked in my garden plan and I have about 2 feet of this bed that is going to be dedicated to peppers. My peppers, I can plant 2 of the same variety pretty closely together, so I can probably get about 10 to 12 plants in this bed in 2 rows. And so I'm gonna separate the onions out on either side, and then I'll do a line of onions down the middle, and then that'll help the onions being able to surround all of the peppers. This really only works because peppers grow so incredibly slow when they're little. Once a couple months has gone by, the peppers will start to get really big and crazy and big plants. But by the time they're doing that, it'll be way past time to have pulled the onions. And then I can get something else in here. I usually plant some basil or something else that is quick growing next to the peppers in here after I pull out the onions. On this last row on the other side and down the middle, I planted some red Withersford, I can't pronounce that, onions, and those are bulbing onions. So I planted them a little bit further apart. As you can see, there's a good 5 or 6 inches in between these ones. So they're a little bit more sparse, but that's so that they have room to bulb up when the time comes.
I had big plans to call it for the day, but these sweet potato slips look terrible. Look at them. Look at them, babe. They look awful. They're starting to turn yellow and do not good things. They have a ton of roots in here though. So I'm hoping that they bounce back once I get them in some soil. So I am going to get these in a couple of pots. I only put together 2 grow bags of dirt. I think that'll take a bunch of these. And then I have 1 more grow bag I can put them in. I was planning on saving a few of these for the in-ground space. But I don't know if they're going to make it that far. So we'll see. Alright, and I don't know how far apart I'm supposed to place these. These probably are a little too close together, but I don't think a couple of them are going to make it, so that's honestly fine. I'll just, if they start looking sad and not growing as fast as some of the other ones, then I'll just trim those off. Zeke trying to get out. Hi, Mia. What you doing, big boy? Got 1 raised bed, 2 raised bed, 3 raised beds. Still got to get in here and level them out, obviously. But there is room for 1 more over here. And we're closing in on finishing these. So exciting. All right, so we got a little bit further than I thought I was going to today. I was able to get those sweet potato slips in the grow bags, and I'm really glad that I did because some of them were starting to look a little sad. And I do have another round that I can snip off and put in some water. That way by next week, when that last bed is done, filled in with dirt, I can hopefully plant the rest of my sweet potato slips in the greenhouse in that last bed. For those of you who weren't here a few weeks ago, my plan this year is to put some sweet potatoes in the grow bags, and then I can keep them inside the greenhouse, and then once it starts to warm up outside, I can move them out, and then at the end of the season, I'll get a couple more weeks, I'll pull them back into the greenhouse, and then I also am going to have some just in the greenhouse, and they're going to get that hot, humid climate that's in the greenhouse all the time. So we're going to see which one works better. I know grow bags work for sweet potatoes and for potatoes, but it's really dry here, and so keeping them watered during the summer is actually pretty difficult. It's kind of a daily thing that you have to keep up on, and I'm not the greatest at daily watering. So we'll see which one does better and if I get any sweet potatoes at all, because I've never done that before, so we'll see what happens. But over here is where we're putting the metal raised beds. And I have 1, 2, and 3 over here, and then there's room for one more. And I'm super excited. I still have a couple of more weeks before our last frost date, so this side of things isn't too urgent. However, I do need to get one of them, and I'm thinking the one that's over there is probably gonna be the one with the experiment tomatoes in it for the water walls. So I do need to get one ready for planting in the next couple of weeks, but the other ones I can work on more at my leisure. So it won't be as much of a crunch with those. But yeah, we got a lot done today. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next time. Bye.